Today may pick up the story of Job again, where we left on Tuesday. In the midst of all his trials and struggles, Job asked the Lord a lot of questions, like we all do when we go through suffering and pain. The suffering of the innocent. So Job asked the Lord some very logical questions, and his three friends helped him. Come on, something wrong with you, otherwise this should not happen. The logic is, if you do good, good will happen. If you do evil, retribution and punishment. That's the way logic works. In your case, you think you are good? No, it can't be, because something evil has happened, so there could be something wrong with you. But Job was sure in his conscience he didn't do anything wrong. So when Job asked these questions, after all these logical questions, there comes the Lord to answer him. What is interesting is, Lord answers Job's questions with the questions. That is how God answers our questions. He will ask us some questions, because in his questions is the answer. So we heard the series of questions the Lord asked Job. Were you there when I created the world? You are here only for a few years on this earth. This world was created thousands or millions of years ago. Were you there when I created this world? When I put everything in place, all the stars in their place, even those tiny creatures, the ant, the cockroach, the mosquito, everything I put in their places. Were you there? What is the implication in all these questions? Job is asking questions from his own narrow perspective. Don't we ask questions from our own perspectives? The way we look at life and events and our own sufferings and sorrows and aches and pain. We look at everything from our own very narrow perspective. Even we look at the whole world from our own very narrow perspective, our little brains inside. The Lord is making Job realize the world is bigger than you. My plans are bigger than your little thoughts. When we are concerned about our small picture, God will be showing us a bigger picture. In short, in brief, the message is, our life is not about ourselves. My life is not about my life. Your life is not about you. What is happening in your life is also not precisely about you. Difficult to understand, isn't it? What you are going through is not about you. There's a bigger picture you haven't seen. In other words, God is leading you to something you haven't yet understood. God is leading me to something I haven't ever understood. So my suffering and pain are God's ways of teaching me about something which I haven't yet understood. That's why Job says, after all this, I'm sorry. I can bear what I am going through now, because I know you are doing something which I have yet to understand. To close, today's psalm is the answer in the midst of any kind of suffering you go through, whether it is in the mind or in the body. The psalmist says, Lord, you know my thoughts, my sufferings, my sorrows, my questions, my agonies. You know everything. Because from my mother's womb, you knitted me there, formed me there. My future, everything is in your hands. Even in the midst of hell, I know your hands are holding me tight.